On this episode of the Massive Agent Podcast, I'm going to tell you why I truly believe that sometimes the best client is the one that you never work with or the one you fire.
The Massive Agent Podcast, with lead generation tips and strategies to get you more leads and sell more homes.
I love to buy houses. I like to sell houses.
It takes brass balls to sell real estate.
Wait a minute.
The leads are weak. You're weak.
I've had better.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Here's your host, Dustin Brohm.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode number 30 of the Massive Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Brohm. I'm a realtor in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm with eXp Realty. I'm the founder of Search Salt Lake and Salt Lake Insider. And most recently, we just launched the Massive Agent Society. That's our lead gen, Facebook ads, training, and support system. If you want to learn more about that, go over to massiveagentsociety.com. So guys, the first couple years that I was in the business, I think this was my third year in, I was struggling. I was selling just a handful of homes. I didn't have a lot of business, but to be fair, and I think this in and of itself will give some of you new people some perspective or, a little bit of extra oomph to know that it's not just you. Okay. My first few years in the business, I had to become the person that I am now. I did not start in this business as super charismatic. I didn't start out very confident. I'm not one of those people that naturally had a ton of credibility with their contacts. I'm not one of these people who knows everyone and everyone knows them. When I started in the business, I had to kind of climb up, inch by inch and, reconnect with people from high school and, reconnect with people that I knew because I just wasn't one of those people that had a ton of credibility with all their contacts. Some of you guys do, other realtors do, and that's awesome. I was not one of them, and I think most people aren't. But because of that, because I didn't have a lot of business going on, I felt like I had to work with everybody, that I can't turn down business. Hey, if I don't work with so-and-so, even though they're a jerk, that means that I won't get a paycheck. Like, I need to get this closing. I need to sell this house or I'm not going to be able to eat, right? I can't say no to business. That's not a good business move. That's how I thought at the time. And it makes sense, okay? It made sense at the time. It's like, why would you turn down business? But ever since I got into the business, my mentor had been telling me that sometimes the best client is the one that you never work with. And I'd never got that. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They're not a client if you don't work with them, right? But as I start moving along in this career, about 3 years in, I pick up this client through a referral from a family friend, and they turned out to be an absolute freaking nightmare in so many ways. There was no pleasing them. They had very unrealistic expectations. They did not value my time at all. They asked me to do some things that were unethical, borderline illegal, and they were just, then they wanted me to go get my license in Idaho, I think. They wanted me to go get my license in Idaho so I can go drive 4, 5, 6, 7 hours to go show them properties in Idaho. And it was a little ridiculous. And what I learned through this, and I was keeping my mentor updated on what was going on. And he's like, dude, this is exactly what I mean by sometimes the best client is the one that you never work with. And I didn't get it until all of a sudden I had one of those clients, because they suck your positive energy. They suck your energy as a whole. You dread working. It's just not enjoyable. And guys, we're in an industry that, even though it's extremely tough and it's hard and we have all sorts of shit to do, not only do we have to be marketers, but we have to be real estate agents and basically customer service professionals all in one. And even though it is hard, you can still enjoy what you do because you enjoy who you work with and who you're working hard for and what you're able to do for them that they can't do on their own. That's why they hired you. But then when you get somebody who's ungrateful and they're just a freaking asshole, and there's no pleasing them whatsoever, you start to realize real soon, I would be a little happier if this wasn't my client. I'd be a little happier if I wasn't working with this person. So it wasn't until I had one of those nightmare clients. And you guys listening, I know what you're doing. You're shaking your heads, or you're nodding your heads. You're like, yep, I know exactly what he means, because we've all had one. And that makes you realize that if you were just able to filter them out, if you had the perspective back then to just say no, or say, hey, look, I'm not the right agent for you. You might need to go find somebody else better suited for you. Or maybe you were already a couple months into the process and they turned into a nightmare. If you would just have the had the confidence, if you will, or the strength to fire them and to let them go and say, hey, we can't work together anymore, you'd be so much happier. Your life would be easier. You'd enjoy your career more. And here's the thing, too, that you got to realize. When you're working with one of these clients that sucks all your time and your energy in a negative way, so by having to spend your time and having the life sucked out of you by this nightmare client, you can't be working with somebody else who could be the dream client. So you have to be picky. You have to learn how to be picky. And I know what you're saying. That's easy for you to say because you can pay your bills and you have all this business. Guys, I learned this at a time when I could not pay my bills. Literally. I was behind on damn near everything. And I know how hard it is when you need a paycheck. I know how hard it is to turn away business. But you just need to trust me. If you're listening to this show, you believe me or you trust me or you think that I'm not going to lead you wrong, right? So, I mean, you wouldn't be listening to me otherwise. So believe me when I tell you, by letting go of a nightmare client, or even ideally a potentially nightmare client that you never actually work with, you're then opening yourself up for the next client who could be amazing and who could become a lifetime friend, a lifelong friend. You could, instead of working with this one seller that you have to spend 3 hours a day with, and if you didn't have to do that, you could be working with these 3 other sellers that are just perfect, and maybe they're in higher price points. You've got to look at, okay, what is this time that I'm wasting right now, this time that's being sucked away by this client now? What else could I be doing with that time? And maybe it's not other clients, but maybe you'd have more time to do some of the marketing ideas and marketing strategies that you've always wanted to do, stuff that we've talked about before here. And you're like, oh, I just haven't found the time yet. But you're never going to find the time if you get sucked into one of these crappy situations with a terrible client. Trust me, if your gut is telling you, if you're about to start working with a buyer or you're about to sign a listing and there's red flags, there's signs that are telling you, this is not going to be good. This isn't going to go well. These guys are going to be hard to work with. Listen to yourself. Okay. If your gut is telling you that, there's a reason. Make sure you listen to your gut and don't work with them. Simple as that. It really is that simple. And if you're wondering how you can say no to them, I've already mentioned it once before. You say, look, you know what? It sounds like you need X, Y, and Z. To be honest with you, I don't think I'm the agent for you because I can't provide X, Y, and Z. But let's find you somebody who would be better suited for what your needs are. And if they're reasonable people, which a lot of these nightmare clients aren't, but if they were, then they would respect that. They'd say, wow, they're turning down business to find someone better for me, and they might actually respect you more, and you might even get a good review out of it afterwards. That's happened to me before. And if you're already working with a buyer or a seller and it's not working and they're not listening to you, let's say it's a seller, okay, and they're not doing anything you say they need to do to sell their house. They're not listing it where you say they need to be. They're not doing the things to the house. They're not showing it. They're not doing anything that you need them to do to sell their house. You say, look, obviously you don't trust me. If you trusted me, you'd be dropping the price to this. If you trusted me, you'd be doing the things that I recommended you do to your home to get your house to sell. But obviously you don't trust me. How could you work with somebody that you don't trust? Because you don't trust me and because I want the best for you and I want to see you succeed, let's cancel this listing agreement so you can go out and find somebody that you do trust. Let them go. I want you to realize that this is a business, okay? You are running a business. You are running a potential multi-million-dollar a year business. And if that sounds weird to you, or if you don't believe me, that's the problem. You're not approaching your real estate business as if it is a multi-million-dollar a year business, that you're the entrepreneur, that you're the self-employed business owner of your own real estate business. And so we have to start making business decisions and sometimes turning down a potential nightmare client that's part of smart business. Okay. Taking every single client that walks through, regardless how ridiculous their requests are, that's not smart business. Would a Fortune 500 company do that? No. So you shouldn't either. And here's another aspect of this conversation that I think is very important. If you've been listening, if you've been watching my Instagram, the Massive Agent Instagram, you've been seeing every other day I do some of those 60-second videos. And I did one about the lifetime value versus the one-time transaction. The lifetime value of a client versus a one-time transaction. We need to be looking at our clients, all of them, for their lifetime value. What is the lifetime value that the client has? because so many of us just think about the one-time closing, like, oh, cool, they're buying a house, awesome. Then after the close, after the closing happens, you don't ever contact them again, and you don't think to continue to stay in touch with them. You don't think that eventually that house that they just bought, eventually they're going to have to sell it, and then maybe they're going to buy another one after that. And then they might know 4 different people that are going to buy a house over the next couple of years. But if you don't stay in touch, or they don't like you, or they didn't think you were honest with them, or whatever, they had a bad experience, they're not going to refer those people to you. You're not going to get their future business. But if you approach every single client right from the get, like it's a lifetime relationship that you're building, you want to be their realtor for life. And I know that's cliche. A lot of realtors, old school realtors have used and abused that. You're realtor for life. It sounds so corny, but it's true. If you just go into it saying, look, I don't care about this one transaction. I don't care if you buy a place for $60,000 right now. I'm going to help you, and I'm going to work just as hard as if you were buying a place for $10 million. Because over time, that client is worth so much more than just that one-time commission that you would have earned from the first deal. Because like I said, they're going eventually, if you sell them a house, then they're going to probably sell it and then go buy something else. And there's probably going to be referrals if you stay in touch with them and make them, don't let them forget you along the way. Maybe it's a year or 2 down the road. They have some referrals for you. So all of that, each client could be worth $100,000 in lifetime value, but you have to see it like that. And the reason that I bring that up in this conversation is when you're approaching every client as if their lifetime value is $100,000, you can't do that if you have a life-sucking, awful, awful client. You can't, because you're going to be so excited once the closing happens. If you actually get to that point, you're going to be so excited to never talk to them again that you can't do that. For you, it's all about I just want to be done with you. And they probably just want to be done with you too. That's usually how these things work, is they're not super stoked with you either. So if they're not super stoked with you and they just want to be done, and you just want to be done with them, they're not worth $100,000. They're just worth that one-time deal. So all of that work and effort that you put in just to see them to the closing, that's only going to lead to one closing. Had you just put that same time and effort into somebody else who appreciates you and is not asking you to do illegal shit and doesn't want you to get licensed in the next state so you can go show homes over there, then you can you can work with one of those awesome clients. The same effort, same time, you're going to enjoy it. It's going to make you happy. You're going to be fulfilled. They're going to be fulfilled. You're probably going to build a friendship that lasts forever. And over time, that's going to lead to referrals and more deals. $100,000 per client in lifetime value. So by picking the right clients and then kicking the ones that are not going to lead down the road of great lifetime value, kick them to the curb so you can focus on the ones who are great. Guys, that's what leads to happiness, and that's what leads to success. You have to be looking at it with this perspective, and that's why I wanted to do this show today. You don't want clients they don't let you treat them well, okay? Because they're such a pain in the ass. They're so disrespectful. They're so inconsiderate and unappreciative that you really can't treat them well, okay? They're making it hard for you to treat them well, or they won't treat you well. You can't have clients like that. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to your family because it affects your family. When you're stressed and when you hate work and when you're dealing with a pain in the ass like that, your family knows, your kids know, they feel it. So really consider the lifetime value of a client versus just the one-time transaction. And what that translates to then with picking clients. Okay, being choosy. And for you guys that still are kind of calling bullshit and you're like, look, it's easy for you to say that I should turn down a client when I don't have any business and I need a closing. Just trust me, because when you have the time, when your time is opened up and free to work with the right clients, you're going to be able to treat them well. You'll be excited to work with them. You'll treat them well. You'll build friendships with them, which will lead to more business, and your happiness and the confidence you're building will lead to more deals and more business. So you see how this snowballs? But if you're so short-sighted because of a temporary financial situation, then I hate to say it, it's just going to take you a hell of a lot longer to get to that level of success that you aspire to. Don't be clouded by a temporary broke situation. See, broke is temporary. Being poor, that's a way of life. Okay, that's a mindset. Broke is a temporary financial situation. You can get through broke. Okay, I've been there. I've been through broke numerous times. Hopefully never again, but you know what I mean? Broke is a temporary financial situation. And if you're doing the right things with the right people consistently over time, you will get through it. I guarantee it. Okay, so we're about a month in, I'd say, to our Alexa flash briefing. I forgot to unplug her again. We've got our flash briefing.
From the Massive Agent podcast.
Hey, she's saying my...
Dustin Brohm with the Massive Agent Minute.
There it is.
I wanted to really quickly remind you guys.
There.
You know, if you haven't heard yet.
Okay, unplugged. I always forget to do that. Because I listen to my flash briefings every morning. And anyways, so we have our flash briefing. It's called the Massive Agent Minute. I'm actually quite impressed with how many people are listening on a daily basis. I didn't realize that many people in the real estate space listen to flash briefings. Super cool. So if you have Alexa, or if you're one of the millions of people that just barely bought an Alexa device on Prime Day yesterday, make sure that you go to, once you get Alexa all set up, go to your Alexa app, click the menu button in the upper left, click on Skills and Games, and then search for Massive Agent. You'll find the Massive Agent Minute. That's our flash briefing. And then all you have to do once that's enabled is say, Alexa, play my daily briefing. And it's like a little 60 to 90 second podcast every day. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's a way for me to just, anytime an idea pops into my head or I come across something in a transaction that I want to tell you guys, that's my way to do it. And so I quickly upload it as a flash briefing, and there's a new one every single day, 7 days a week. So go enable that if you haven't. And if you've been getting value from that flash briefing, please leave us a review. You do the review right there on the Alexa app. You can even do it on Amazon desktop. You just go to the skills deal in the drop down and search Massive Agent. You can figure it out. If I could figure it out, I promise you can. And then, so it's been since April 1st, we've been doing the Massive Agent Society. And if you're fairly new to the show, you don't know a whole lot about it. I haven't talked a lot about it in my episodes, other than that it exists, and then pointing you to the website. But back in April, we launched a system that I call the Massive Agent Society. And the whole thing was that there's so many agents out there who they want to run Facebook ads, and they want to get more online leads and have control over it, but they don't know what to do. Okay, they might know how to do a Facebook ad, but they struggle with what to do. What type of ad should I do? What kind of audience should I target? Then what kind of creative should I put in the ad? And so that's what the society is for, is we have a bunch of examples of different campaigns that you can do. It tells you step by step in ways that you can copy paste, use this headline, use this image, use this audience, and then you just set it up. You just copy our campaigns, set it up, and then we give you the support through our Facebook group and through some training videos to learn more about how to adjust those ads as they're ongoing to make them better. Because one ad that might work for somebody in Helena, Montana might not work for you in Miami, Florida. So you have to learn little adjustments on how to tweak the audience and tweak things. And that's what the group is there for, and that's what the training videos are there for. So if lead gen is something you wanted to get control over for yourself, I strongly recommend you guys go to massiveagentsociety.com and check out what we're doing. We do only allow one agent per market. One agent per market only, because we don't want more than one agent running the exact same ads in the same market. That's not cool. And on top of that, because there's only one agent per market, that makes a really, really cool referral network of other agents from all around the country. And this is for loan officers too, guys. It's not just for agents. More info at massiveagentsociety.com. But if there's one agent per market and you're getting a bunch of leads and one of them needs to, you get a buyer that needs to sell their house in Phoenix, we go into the society. Hey, who's our Phoenix rep? Boom, it's Nicole. Cool. Hey, Nicole, I have a client for you. And that works the other way. Somebody across the country might say, hey, Dustin, I have somebody moving to Salt Lake. Here you go. Here's a deal. So it's a very powerful referral network too. It's massiveagentsociety.com. And then finally, I'd like to officially invite you guys. You've heard me talk about eXp Realty quite a bit. That's the brokerage I've been with for a couple months now. I am very pleased with them, very excited about all the growth possibilities. You've heard me talk about how important residual passive income is for me. For me, that's everything. I'm trying to figure out ways to systemize and build businesses that don't necessarily need me doing particular actions for the income to come in. So the revenue sharing and the recruiting model that eXp has is so powerful. And even just a couple months in, I can tell this is going to be absolutely huge for my family financially. So if you've been interested, if you've been on the fence about eXp Realty, or even if you're hearing about it for the first time, I'd love to talk to you about it. I'd like to officially invite you to come work with me side by side at eXp Realty. And for those of you guys who do, all of my team members, because I want you to have the tools you need to succeed and to get a crap load of leads. Everyone who's on my eXp Realty team, everyone who I sponsor over to eXp, you're getting a free lifetime membership to the Massive Agent Society. That's a $300 a month value right there. All because I want you to have the tools you need to succeed if you're on my team. Simple as that. So there's no expiration to that offer. If you come join me at eXp, you will get free lifetime access to the Massive Agent Society. Not bad at all. And pretty soon here, because the team keeps growing, we're going to have weekly coaching calls, support calls, our own Facebook group, really take this thing to the next level. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been episode number 30 of the Massive Agent Podcast. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Go out there and sell some homes and get some leads. Take care.